Back at TD Garden, breaking down this matchup between the Celtics and the Cavaliers. Josue Pavone here, Scott Souza right next to me. Scott, the Celtics defense has certainly looked very good in this small sample size. I know it's only been 3 games, but they held the Magic to 75 points. They held the Cavaliers to 72 today. Which one is it, though? Is it the Celtics are just a really good defensive team right now, or are the teams that they're playing against just not so great on the offensive end of things?
You know, if the regular season starts and they hold an actual NBA team below 80 points, I'll be very impressed. They've obviously looked better here these last 2 games than they did against Charlotte, where they looked very shaky defensively. Against Orlando, they did it against a bigger lineup without a lot of shooters. They held them to 2 points in the first 8 minutes. And then tonight they really held, Cleveland in check. They only scored 26 points. But, Cleveland goes out, shoots 7 for 40 for 3-pointers. Their starters shoot 1 for 22 on 3-pointers. Is that because the Celtics' 3-point defense is so strong, or because Cleveland doesn't have any 3-pointers on the floor, 3-point shooters on the floor that can hit shots? It's going to be a big difference, I think, when, there are encouraging signs in terms of how they're switching on defense, how they're helping on defense, how guys like Daniel Tice and Robert Williams are moving out there defensively on the perimeter. But it's a big difference between doing this against a team starting, marginal NBA players as opposed to, say, the Philadelphia 76ers. When you go up against them, you have Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Al Horford, a front line of all 7-footers going up against a smallish lineup. That'll be the real test, not the Cleveland Cavaliers in the middle of October.
This segment of the Garden Report is brought to you by CBS Sports HQ, the brand new sports streaming app. And all you have to do, no sign up, no login, all you have to do is download the CBS Sports app. That CBS Sports app today. Sign up and make sure you download that app, Scott. This starting 5, I like what I'm seeing out of Daniel Tice. Okay, it's against the Orlando Magic. Okay, it's against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But still, I think he really fits in on both ends of the floor. Of course, we know how familiar he is with Brad Stevens' system. What did you make of him starting, and how do you feel about this starting 5 moving forward?
Well, I think that Daniel Tice is shown definitely a comfort level in this system, and I think what he does is, he doesn't have to have the ball. The ball doesn't have to go through him. He's the guy who's going to do the dirty work, so then you can open up the game for Kemba Walker or Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown to take more shots with that first unit. Then you kind of come in with the second unit, and you have Enes Kanter, who might be a big man who's a little bit more a focal point of that offense. Maybe the ball flows through him a little bit more. But I like Daniel Tice in this lineup. I like the way that Jaylen Brown is attacking the basket. That's been one of my big takeaways from the last couple of games. On the Isaiah Thomas and the Kyrie Irving teams, a lot of times Jaylen Brown, I think, felt that he just had to go in the corner, shoot threes. A lot of people thought he took too many 3-point shots, but that's kind of what he was asked to do. Now you see him taking the ball to the basket, both hands, with authority. He's been one of the most impressive guys, I think, so far in this preseason.
Brad Stevens, one thing he mentioned after this game was that Vincent Poirier, he actually said that perfectly too, French accent and all. He said Vincent Poirier was this close to starting against the Cleveland Cavaliers. So that's something we could see in Tuesday night in Cleveland. How do you feel about Poirier? I mean, we haven't seen a huge sample size out of the guy, but when he does come in, at least from my perspective, at least against the Hornets last week, he looked really good in those 5 minutes, of defending that he did in that front court.
I think he shows physicalness, he shows toughness. He seemed to be in the wrong spot. He seemed to turn the wrong way a lot. He's had a lot of illegal screens. I think
you mentioned that, actually. We sat next to each other during the game.
But this is something that remember when Daniel Tice first started and he wouldn't go straight up on a block and he was getting called fouls left and right. So it may just take him a little bit of time to get used to the NBA game. But, as we talked about in one of our other segments, I would be surprised if he saw a lot of minutes early in the season unless they're just playing a big, rugged, tough front court of another team. I think it's probably going to be Daniel Tice and then Enes Kanter. And then, we mentioned in our other segments, but I thought today Robert Williams was a guy who sparked, who flashed a little bit today in terms of being a guy who rolled to the basket, was a recipient of a couple of Marcus Smart feeds that really finished out great, and has just been active, chasing down balls going out of bounds, showing a little bit more understanding of the game. I think he's starting to take that step that a lot of people were hoping that he was going to take over the summer, but really hadn't seen him take yet.
I actually got a chance to speak to Vincent Poirier for a few minutes before this game, and I do have a column that will be up on CLNSmedia.com, and of course, you can catch all of your Celtics content, plenty of content there on CLNSmedia.com between now and, of course, the season opener. Home opener will be back here at TD Garden. You can stick with us, CLNS Media, for plenty of coverage of your Boston Celtics.